Hello, people of the internet, and welcome to another review here on Pez of the Mind. I am
Yes,
James Phoenix.
for
He's
Halloween, we're coming to you live from BooTube.
ah, I don't get
Let's not, let's not make Halloween jokes. I'm just kidding, boils and ghouls. It's fine. Okay, let's not do Crypt Keeper either.
it. Yes, but this is a both one of our Halloween reviews for the year and an Origins, by the way, because we are going to take a look at the first episode of the new Netflix TV show, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. This is based on the character of Sabrina Spellman, who a lot of people probably know from the Melissa Joan Hart show Sabrina the Teenage Witch and the corresponding animated series.
Sis.
However, series is. This is more directly taken from the comic, specifically the new comic line of the same title, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, that takes a much more serious and horror-themed tone with the material.
Yep. Oh, I will say, did you message Pew? Because I thought she was going to be in this.
I didn't know she was going to be in this.
Fair enough.
My apologies. To be honest, at this time of night, I doubt she would do it anyway because she's got to get up for work in the morning.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't even know she was going to be in this. That was my bad.
That's fine. I at least remembered you, Pew.
Hey, I was just at that get together with her for multiple hours, and she didn't mention it. So
She probably thought you knew. You're in charge of the schedule, little.
yeah, but did you tell her that we moved it from we were going to do it earlier at 6 o'clock? Remember?
Yes, we were going to do it earlier, and then we didn't because you were both at a party. I assume she knew we weren't going to be recording it while she's at a party, while you're there also.
Well, yes, but she never was the one that brought up that we were having the party. I was the one that brought that up, so she probably even forgot we were doing the fucking review.
It's fine. Like I said, I thought you might have mentioned it to her. It's cool.
I mean, I can send her a text now see if she wants to pop in.
Yeah, you can do.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, it's
Yeah, it's
and
obviously based on the new Archie comics of The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, as you mentioned.
yeah, which
Which
it
is
was really good.
It's like a darker take on Sabrina, and it's
Yeah.
more serious. This series itself is darker, more serious. Don't expect it to be like the sitcom. The episodes come in at an hour each.
Yep.
Which is pretty good. And yeah, dealing with her finding out she's a witch well, not finding out she's a witch, but getting ready to be baptized to be a full witch.
Yeah, apparently they have to go through a dark baptism that commits them to the Dark Lord Satan in order to become a full witch or warlock.
Yep. Which that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you have Harvey in there for people who remember him from the Nick show. And
Yep.
you got the ants and stuff. So you have a lot of the same characters, but obviously they're very different. And we can't just sit here and compare the two, because that's unfair. The effects look good. But the other thing to remember for this show as well, for people wondering, it's set in the 1960s, I believe.
It is?
I think it's the 50s or the 60s. I think it's the 60s.
I didn't pick up on that at all. Okay.
I thought it was set in the 60s. I know the comic is set in the 60s, and the way her hair's styled and the clothing, it's got like an older vibe to it. And
True.
the film that they went to see in the cinema is in black and white and came out in the 60s.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure. I think it was set in the 60s just because of how they were
No,
doing that.
you're,
Like, they're not
you're,
using tone or anything.
yeah, you're probably right. I didn't even realize that.
We can all tell by the big light you're trying to look it up. Please stop doing that during our reviews.
I'm just curious.
But yeah, like I said, the original one, at least the comic was set in the 60s. Like I said, it looks like it because it's got a very unique look to it.
It does. That's true.
Like, her clothes and stuff look like old time clothes, an old time style, which works for that. I
Yeah.
think it's set in the 60s. It might not be. People can feel free to find that out later. But yeah, like I said, and obviously it's dealing with her worrying when she takes the baptism. She's going to go to basically the private school for witches, which is akin to that famous book series about someone going off to a private school for magically gifted people.
Yep.
I refer to, of course, the worst witch.
Of
And
course.
well, yeah, they're literally a witch going to a school for witches. She's a
Yeah.
witch going to a school for witches.
Yep.
But yeah, which that's cool. And the headmistress, well, not headmistress, but the teacher in this, the evil one, reminded me kind of her evil teacher in The Worst Witch, which is cool. But yeah, she's played by the actress who was in Bad Education, where she played a mean teacher in that too.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, they're like one of the aunts, I think Hilda. Yeah, Hilda is played by the girl from The Office in the UK.
Oh,
She's
fun.
the receptionist in The Office in the UK. But yeah, but basically, I liked her character as well, the evil teacher.
Hmm.
Mrs. Oh, what did they say her name was? I forgot what her alias was meant to be for this. It was like Warbook or something.
Something like that.
Do you remember?
I mean, I can one click back over to the page and tell you if you really want to know.
That's not.
But otherwise, no, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. The question is, do you remember? Not can you Google? But yeah.
I'm not googling. The Wikipedia page is up in the other window. All I had to do was click it. But
But yeah.
anyway, yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying before he keeps trying to bring up Wikipedia, basically it's a case of yeah, she spoilers later on because I know who she is in the comics is Madam Satan, who's a major villain. This is a new alias for her. She hasn't used this alias in the comic. She's used other aliases, but not this one.
Okay.
I liked it. I liked her portrayal and how she's clearly trying to bring Sabrina to the dark side, which is cool. When she tries to kill her.
Yeah, which is not so cool.
And she just delighted in trying to kill her too. Like she's laughing as she's doing it and doing that to animate the little puppet that's
Yeah, that
chasing
was
her.
fun. I like she was doing that.
Now I will say one big change for this if people watch the original, just to warn people. Salem doesn't talk.
No.
I wish he did. But in this, in the original, if people remember, he was like a warlock that'd been cursed to be a cat for 1,000 years.
Yes.
And it was done by a puppet for a lot of the series. It was fun. I liked it. I liked him in the original. In this one, it's like a goblin that she summoned, but then transforms himself into a cat and becomes her familiar that eats the evil scarecrow.
Yep.
And I liked what the cat. I liked what they did with Salem. I wish he. Yes, I liked him talking, but that was cool. She also has a cousin on this.
Yes. Who is? It was interesting. He is interestingly, he's a pansexual, which is kind of a forward-thinking character to add to the show. And they added that a unique trait of him is that he has been placed under permanent house arrest by the Witches' Council because he tried to blow up the Vatican.
Yep. I will just ask. Did you watched the pilot? Didn't you?
Yeah.
Did they actually mention he was pansexual?
No, that was mentioned on the Wikipedia page.
That's why I was mentioning. Did you watch it? Because it seems like you're just reading off the Wikipedia.
No, the pansexual part was from there, but he did have a bit of his character was a little flamboyant from time to time, so it did. I admit I wouldn't have known that from just the first episode, but apparently that does come up in later episodes.
Yeah, I know it comes up later. I will just say, for the record, pansexuals are not flamboyant. We do not condone that homophobic or whatever you want to call it attitude. Pansexuals just mean they're attracted to all people, regardless of gender and stuff like that. They're not flamboyant.
Fair enough.
But that's not a trope with them. But yeah, that's more of a homosexual trope, if that makes sense. But even though it's not accurate with them either nowadays. But yeah, I liked him. I didn't expect. He was a good addition, if that makes sense. Like she's got an extra person to talk to.
Hmm.
We also got to see her tell Harvey that she was a witch and then take it away quickly because he freaked the fuck out.
Yep. I also like how she was kind of trying to use her powers to help the girls in school. Like the one girl who kept getting bullied by the football players. That was kind of cool.
Yep. I will say that wasn't bullied.
Okay, assaulted.
Yeah, I'm gonna say sexually assaulted. That's not just gonna say that's bullying. They literally made her lift up her top to show her boobs.
Yeah.
that's kind of a no-no. But yeah, it's a case of the teacher or the headmaster was basically even flat out tells her maybe she should find a different school,
Hmm.
which does speak volumes for the times as well. If it is the 60s,
Yeah.
then she curses him to be covered in spiders.
She does, and he's played by Bronson. I can never remember how to pronounce his last name. Pinot. He's good at a lot of things I've seen him in. It's always cool to see him come back as a principal because I haven't seen him in anything in a while.
Yep. How would you compare him, since we're doing the original, talk about the original a little bit? How would you compare him to Mr. Kraft?
I always liked Mr. Kraft a lot, and part of that's because I really enjoy Martin Mull. Um, it's hard because they're two different kinds of characters. Because Mr. Kraft's entire point was to be funny. He was a comedic principal, even though he was supposed to be the over the top jerky principal. Whereas in this case, he's supposed to be kind of a jerk, but he's not a jerk for the sake of being a jerk. He's a jerk because that's just how principals of the time were.
Yeah, like I said, I was partly joking because we can't compare the two different
Yeah.
characters. For example, Mr. Kraft was a vice principal for a while.
Oh, okay.
He got promoted, but yeah,
Yeah.
like there's no Libby in this. Although she does meet three girls from a private school who have a similar role. And by similar role, I mean instead of being slightly bitchy, they put a life-threatening curse on her. It's the same thing.
Yeah, the blood curse.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
We know because they cracked the egg and it came out blood red.
You also know it's a blood curse because she literally coughed up blood the second it happened.
That too.
She literally coughed up blood, and you're like, oh, okay. And yeah, the curse is meant to slowly eat away and kill her.
Yep, although apparently Hilda has remedies for that.
Yep. Yeah, you can get rid of all curses, which is we're in this with various stuff. And I was like, okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that there's like a mystery about what's happened to her parents because they've clearly been murdered.
Yeah, the story that she's been told is that they died in a plane crash while they were flying overseas for her father to speak at a symposium or something. But it seems very obvious from the hints of these girls from the school and other things that they were killed off. And it's heavily indicated this might have been because her father was a high priest of the Church of the Night, but her mother was a mortal, and intermarrying like that is a very big no-no in the church.
Yep. Which that was interesting. It's like one other because I hate mentioning the original because, like I said, we shouldn't be comparing them. But I know
Yeah.
what people think about the characters going into this. If you've
Yeah.
seen the original, like Zelda is very different.
Yeah, I was very surprised by that because even though she was always the more serious of the two aunts, she's like, wow.
Yeah, in the original, she was more serious of the two, but she always favoured book learning and was more that type of strict.
Yeah.
This one literally even goes, "Oh, good, someone died. We can use their blood for the curse."
Yeah, for a ritual.
Like this one is more into the witchcraft side of it. Therefore, she's a lot darker because of how they've done it on this, and therefore she's stricter, but she's more serious and just evilish with it. I'm
Yeah.
not saying she's flat out evil, but she's
No.
darker.
But she's darker, but she also just generally doesn't care about people. Like, Hilda still has that sympathy for because the Spellmans own a mortuary in this version. That's their family business. And so there's like one of these scenes where you see Hilda gets a phone call about a young man who tragically died, and she goes to tell what's that?
Stabbed to death.
Yeah, he was stabbed to death. That was horrible. And she goes to tell Zelda this poor young man was stabbed to death. The parents, they, looking for our support in this time to what we can do to make the process easier. And Zelda barely even looks up from the newspaper or the book she's reading, whatever it was, and just kind of goes, "They want open casket or closed casket." And it's like, but like you can tell that while she's used to this, it's still irks Hilda a little bit that Zelda just doesn't care about people at all, except people like them. Like she doesn't give a shit about mortals at all.
With their betrayal, Hilda seems more like an actual normal aunt. At
Yeah.
times, like, she's more like a normalized human, if that makes sense. And Zelda's more to the dark side, and it works. I like that balance.
Yeah, and I did like how Hilda gives that role that Sabrina can relate to, where they have that conversation, because Sabrina's doubting whether or not she should have this dark baptism, because doing so would require her to give up Harvey as her boyfriend and all of her friends in the world of the light. And she actually asked Hilda about this at one point, and Hilda actually, basically in not so many words states that at the time that I went through the dark baptism, there really wasn't a choice in the matter. But had I had a choice, I might have strongly considered not going through with it. And that kind of lets Sabrina know that she's not the only one who in the family who's had concerns about this path of the darkness. And
And
that
yep,
I like how Hilda was able to kind of get that across, that Sabrina has the choice that Hilda never had, and that Hilda kind of supports her in the choice, the direction she's going, even if she's not technically supposed to be doing that.
yeah, like I felt her cousin did a similar-ish thing in the
Yeah.
graveyard. Even though he's saying to her, "No, you need to join them," he's then clearly stating to her, "I don't have ties to anyone at all, and I have no life besides staying on these grounds." And when she sees her look, he sort of smiles as he walks off, like he knows what he's done.
Hmm.
Which I feel like he's been cursed or whatever it was to stay on the ground, so he has to obey them, which is make her join them. But he's playing his own little game, I feel.
Yeah, it seems that way.
And I have not watched, before anyone says this, I've not watched the later episodes yet.
Hmm.
I literally only watched the first one because I didn't want to accidentally get them confused because they're hours long and they bleed together.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll admit I was just kind of enjoying what was going on, and I just even though it kind of came up, I wasn't. I was paying attention to it and kind of thinking about stuff, but I wasn't totally on it. And I ended up going like 15 minutes into the second episode before I realized I was in the second episode.
Yep. And the episode ends with one of the high priests, essentially Satan's pope, I believe.
Yeah, basically the high priest or Satan's, the Dark Lord's representatives on Earth, and this gentleman is actually the headmaster of the school that Sabrina's supposed to go to.
Yep, and he's basically holding on to this cane the whole time, and he just looks sinister.
Yeah,
And
clearly not the bad guy at all.
oh no, he's clearly a bad guy.
And I get the distinct feeling that he might be the guy that the evil teacher is working for.
Yep. I'm also curious about the prophecy vision that she had in her dream.
Yeah,
Because one thing, she dreamt about seeing two babies next to her. One had cloven feet, one had her. You could tie that to her mortal side and her witch side are at conflict.
yeah,
But at the same time, because like we said, we've seen the original Nick show and stuff in my head. I'm just thinking about the family secret. All Spellmans are born with a twin. And I'm like, does she have an evil twin? Is that what this is telling her? But it could go either way with that. I mean, you've got to see the giant beast, which I'm thinking might be how they represent Satan on this.
yeah. I was thinking that might be the case.
If it turns out that's just Satan's doorman and Satan's like played by Christopher Walken in a flamboyant outfit, I'll laugh.
uh,
And by his Christopher Walken in a flamboyant outfit, I'm picturing Balls of Fury Christopher Walken.
yes, exactly.
But no, I really like this. I'm going to be watching the rest of them because this was just a great show.
It was enjoyable. And like I said, I was enjoying it so much that I didn't realize I had gone into episode 2. But I'm really interested in going back and actually watching this to kind of see where it goes, because I think this is a really good show they're putting together.
Yep. Now, on the flip side, I will say one little negative for me.
Okay,
I felt the pacing was a tiny bit off for this episode.
okay, I can see that.
Only because it felt like her in the cornfield going on the quest and then being chased by the teacher came straight after something else that could have ended an episode. I felt like this could have been a plot of another episode if they stretched it out. I felt like they crammed two episodes in together into the 1 hour.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's cool. And it's worth noting it's made by the people who make Riverdale on
Yep.
the CW. I'm not a fan of that show, but I know a lot of people are.
Yeah, that's a relevant point, by the way, because I'm gonna be honest. A lot of this, when we went to this, I was only really finding out when I researched. I didn't know, some people might not know. The character of Sabrina Spellman is actually tied into the original Archie comics. Her hometown of Greendale is actually supposed to be like the next town over from Riverdale, and she appeared in the Archie comics first. That was the origination of the character, and I really never knew that until recently.
I did, only because it's made by Archie Comics and they've had multiple crossovers.
Gotcha.
But yeah, now I don't know if I'll cross over with Riverdale. There is a cameo by a Riverdale character in one of the episodes coming in the future. I know that.
Oh, okay.
Because the character died in Riverdale
Ooh.
and then shows up at Sabrina's as a pizza delivery guy. And
Ah.
it's the same character. And the people who make the show say, yeah, but remember, you got the whole times thing because this is set before that one and all that. And then it's fun. It's a little cameo. Have fun. Don't worry about, does this mean they're linked together? Because honestly, I don't think the two shows can link together.
Yeah, probably not.
But they might do. I'm not sure. But it's still fun. I really liked this Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
It was good. It was very enjoyable. I liked it.
Now, if I had to give any the criticism besides the pacing, and this is just a personal preference, I would have liked a bit more humor.
Yeah, it was very heavily dramatically and dark tone.
I mean, I liked the show as it was. It was a great show. However, and I'm not saying it needs to be the original. I don't want it to be a complete sitcom. But a lot of people before this came out were reviewing it as like the modern day Buffy. Is what a lot of people were calling it on news sites, which I feel is just a go-to excuse for something that's a supernatural show. Because I'm sorry, Buffy had a lot of humor. So I thought, oh, they're going to have some humor and some tongue-in-cheek stuff, and you can do that with the witchcraft stuff and have fun with it. This one just felt dry all the way through, and it's fine for what it was. I really liked the show, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I felt it was very enjoyable. I agree. It took me a little time a little way into the episode to get used to the heavy dark tone, because again, like most people I think of our generation would, I went in with the Melissa Joan Hart show in my mind because that's what I'm most familiar with, and so I knew some of the characters were, but it really took a big adjustment for me to get used to this new version, the new tone, and like I said, the time frame, which I didn't even pick up on, which just shows I completely missed that. But it took some adjustment, but I think what they did was good. But I agree, a little more joke here and there might have worked out better. Personally, if they wanted a way to work that in, I know you mentioned earlier the lack of it, but I think even if it wasn't constantly, if Salem had a voice and just made a joke now and again, like if it could still be dark. I'm thinking along the lines of if they used the Salem character here, personality wise, in a similar way to the way they portrayed Ryuk in the Death Note movie, I think that would have worked.
Yeah, like he could have said something. And I'll admit, part of me did think, is he going to talk in this? And when he ate the scarecrow and he turned on, I'm like, oh, he's going to make a Salem one-liner. Meow. I'm like, oh. No, you're not.
Because he did have a voice originally, because when he first appeared in Sabrina's room, he was a sphere, and he was like, I heard you calling to me in the woods, and I have come.
Goblin.
I thought he was going to talk, but then he didn't.
Yeah, I think they explained it because when he's in goblin form, he'll talk. But when he takes the form of a cat, he's a cat in everything.
Oh, okay.
Which is weird, but I still like that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I do like it, even with its lack of humor. Even with the lack of humor, I just thought it might have had a couple of little jokes here or there.
Right.
I think, ironically, the funniest character in this is the evil teacher. Just because she's taking so much delight in everything she's doing.
That's true.
He's practically terrified of spiders.
And I like how they set the whole thing up early for how this was going to go. When, like, they were at the they were at the cute horror movie, and then they ran into their teacher, like, "Oh, hi, teacher, how are you?" And then she, they mentioned, "Oh, she's poor teacher home all alone." And you're like, "Oh no, this isn't going to end well." And then the teacher finds this abandoned girl and takes her home. And then the girl, spirit, just plunges like telekinesis scissors into her neck. It's like, oh, Jesus, okay.
Yep. It's like, speaking of, the one thing we hadn't mentioned, the corpse that died. Well, not the corpse that died, the person that became a corpse when they
Oh
died.
yeah, that was important. I forgot about that.
Witch hunter,
Yeah, he had a mark on his arm that indicated as a mark of the witch that he was a witch hunter.
which instantly is way more interesting since we keep mentioning original than the original witch hunters.
Yeah,
Do you remember that season?
vaguely.
Harvey suddenly had a friend that showed up and was a witch hunter for the season. And
Ah,
if he and he, if he finds out Sabrina's a witch, something bad happened to her, and you're like, oh,
right.
okay. When he just disappeared afterwards.
Yep, yep.
I didn't like that character, but on this one, when they mentioned witch hunter, I'm like, oh, that's an interesting dynamic. I want to see what's going on here. And like Hilda mentions that she doesn't have a coven yet because she's not a full witch. She's vulnerable.
Yeah.
And that's an interesting way of going with this.
Yeah, that's one reason they're so anxious for her to complete her dark baptism, which has to be done on the night of Halloween under a blood moon during an eclipse, apparently. And they're very anxious to get her, dark baptized so that she is protected from whatever is out there. Because Zelda and to a lesser extent Hilda are clearly very aware that there's something out there that's very dangerous to Sabrina. Presumably, whatever they believe might have been responsible for her parents' deaths, assuming it was not an accident, because they're a little too heavy-handed with they died in an accident. It was nothing more. So I'm assuming that at least Zelda is fully aware that it was more than that and wants to get Sabrina baptized because she believes that whatever is out there is a threat to Sabrina in some way from her perspective.
And I agree. Ironically, I was gonna mention that, but I would not say they were heavy-handed. I thought because when she says it to her, no, you know the truth. Their plane went down. That's all it was. It was an accident. You know this. It was like, you know what I mean? It felt like at the same time it was letting us, the audience, know there was more to it, but it was done in a way I felt was believable for Sabrina.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, the ant that did it is the cold ant.
True. And so yeah, probably gonna say. Oh,
It's like when they were all around the dinner table, and Zelda mentions, and this is all your parents wanted for you, isn't it, Hilda? And Hilda's like, yes, they mentioned it a few times. And even the cousin was staring like, oh, I see what they're doing. Like I get the sense her parents didn't want this for her.
yeah. I get that. I'm almost wondering. Established her father was a high priest, but I'm almost wondering if he realized and was regretting his membership in the Church of the Night, and after meeting her mother, was trying to get out of the church, and that's why they got killed.
Yep. Which it's got a good mystery to it and stuff like that. So it's cool to see how
Yeah,
this progresses. I like it. It's very modern with a lot of the tones and themes going through it. But at the same time, with how they dated it, I feel not dated, but you know what I mean. Set it, I believe
yeah,
in the. I keep saying in the '60s. That's when the comic was. Where I assume this was because of the clothing and stuff.
right.
Because kids aren't all on mobile phones, and as a
That's true.
result, not using mobile phones and all of the latest technology, there's more ways they can be vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. And I did like the because I looked at some of the pictures. Excuse me, some of the damn it, some of the pictures of the characters, and I like how accurate the actors looked in costume to the characters from the comic. I thought that was really well done.
Yep. But yeah, my favorite character is the evil teacher. I don't know who yours is.
Um, it was hard to say. I liked a number of the characters. There's a troll I really like Salem a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I like that he's a normal cat, but then he can turn into a demon monster and kill shit. I think that's awesome. I freaking love that. And I did also like Hilda a lot. I think she did a good job balancing the I have family obligations, but I also really want to support Sabrina and be a loving aunt thing. I think she did a really good job with that.
Yep, it's like one of the things you mentioned. Then I'll just touch on slightly. That's an interesting dynamic,
It is.
Sabrina and Salem. Only because, according to her, like, Aunt Zelda's like, why are you letting him eat like that? Why are you doing that with him? Why are you doing that? And she's like, no, he's not my servant. He's my familiar. He helps me. I help him. Like Sabrina sees Salem as an equal and like someone to help, and like that's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
Whereas the others like have their familiars like locked away and just don't care.
Yeah. Although it was interesting to note that the evil teacher had a bird familiar that she just was basically using for surveillance, but the bird seemed generally free to come and go as long as it reported information.
It did, but I don't see it. I don't see that teacher seeing that bird as an equal.
True.
I see it seeing the bird the same way Maleficent saw her. Well,
Diablo, yeah.
bird. Well, her bird, but yeah, that's what I mean. I see her seeing the bird as like a minion, which is how a lot of them are seeing them.
Mhm.
The fact Sabrina sees Salem as an equal and treats him as such, I think that's going to be an interesting thing going forward because there could be something to that in the future, like not power friendship stuff, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And like even his name, like they're like, why did you call him Salem? I didn't. He picked his name,
Yeah,
which is I think that's great.
totally.
So yeah, I'm gonna rate the series a 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I agree. This was, like I said, it took some adjustment for me for the tone, but overall the series was really good. I'm throwing 9 out of 10. This was really enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to seeing where the series goes. 'Cause I think it's an interesting new interpretation, from my perspective, of characters whom I knew in a more comedic setting, and seeing this more dramatic setting and this cool supernatural backstory to this whole thing. I think is really interesting, and the interesting approach to, you know, a lot of people who are looking at this as, serving Satan is normal. It's not a bad thing. It exempts you from the fires of hell. Like this whole world built around that. This is just a thing that some people do. It's kind of cool.
Yep, which that's cool. One negative is she doesn't have a linen closet where she goes in and meets one half of Penn and Teller.
I know.
What's Kevin Nash gonna come out of now and chase her?
Yes. Oh, I remember that one. Good times. Good times.
And obviously that's a joke before anyone thinks I was being serious about seeing Drell.
Yeah. That probably wasn't gonna happen.
But I am curious if he'll be in this. Not
Mm,
played by the same guy, but like I get the feeling like Jarell in that, obviously head of the Witches Council and all that, was
yeah.
big. He was funny. He was funny, and as he was over the top, trying to keep his power.
Yeah.
If there is a new guy in charge of witches now, under it would be directly under Satan. It would probably be the guy that was sat there with the cane.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. He seemed like he was generally in charge, or at least very close. Because Hilda and Zilda went out of their way during their conversation before calling him, to emphasize how important this guy was and how big of a deal it was that they were going to go out of their way to ask him to speak to Sabrina. Because I think the exact words used were as close, obviously not the Dark Lord himself, but as close to the Dark Lord as we can get.
Yeah, she mentioned he's the Dark Lord's representation on this plane, which made me say, "Oh, he's the Pope."
Yeah. Well, she mentioned that high priests in general are that. They didn't seem to explain whether there was more than one at any given time, because Sabrina's father was also a high priest, so I don't know if there's just always one, and when one dies, another one is takes the position or not, but maybe.
Yep, it was interesting when they said that, but I'll tell you one thing. She said, "What's that? Our church less pedophiles in it," and I just looked at the camera.
Yeah, that was surprising.
There's Catholics everywhere weeped.
Yep.
That didn't happen.
No. But
Although,
but it's interesting that I.
although I do have a text right here from James Phoenix.
No, you don't.
It says on Twitter, "OMG, I'm watching Sabrina the Teenage Witch. There's a black guy on her fence. OMG, is that the Quizmaster?" From James Phoenix. I don't know what he's going on about with that, but I've cousin later on.
Okay then. Anyway,
But live tweet from James Phoenix, that was.
no, it's not. Not at all. You can go to my Twitter right now. No, it's not.
It's on
Anyway,
the direct messages.
no, it's not. Anyway, overall, I think the series was enjoyable, and I did like how the bad guy, like, I told Sabrina that if she takes the baptism and comes to, like, pretty much straight up lying to her that she takes the dark baptism, comes to school and doesn't like it, she can leave and go back. Like, bullshit, she can.
Sure you can.
That's the foundation of our church. I assure you, it's both like, yeah, no, it's not. You're a fucking liar.
And you could say the devil is in the detail.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Although, to be fair, and I can't believe I'm going to have to say this, statistically speaking, in terms of actual Bibles and stuff like that, Satan keeps his word. It's one thing people have mentioned. Satan actually keeps his word. God doesn't a few times. Like, God will do tricky things like, oh, if you turn behind, look behind you and kill your wife. Satan doesn't. He's okay letting people just be evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if Satan says, like the famous story from the Bible where Satan literally went against a guy with a fiddle and he's like, I'll give the devil his due. No? Possible I'm thinking of a completely different song.
Possibly.
It was in the Bible when the devil went down to Georgia. It's fine. He was looking for a soul to steal.
Exactly.
No, I'm kidding. But I could see the devil keep his word. Like, oh, yeah, you're free to go. Because once they're at the school and they're baptized, they're probably going to be so take her to the dark side enough that she wouldn't want to leave.
Right.
Like, it'll rob her of the free will so she technically can. It's just she wouldn't.
Won't want to, yeah. Interesting argument to be made. Alrighty.
It's like
Nah.
they're evil
No.
and outdated. They're like the 1960s satanic tribe.
No. Anyway, this has been a look at the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, currently available on Netflix on both sides of the pond. Check it out. Check it.
There's more than one side of the pond worldwide, I believe.
Yes. I just have both sides of the pond because those are the two areas that I think would mostly be watching our videos, given that's where we're from. So
That is true, but I'm just going to give a shout out to our big Bangladeshi audience.
Sure, why not? But yes, check that out. Also, check out the comics. They are now available, and Volume 1 as a trade paperback is out. But I feel like they recently rebooted the Chilling Adventures comic line a while back, so I don't think they made a second trade. Because I know the original trade, which I got for Pew, was the first 5 issues, and from what I read, there was 7, and there was supposed to be more, but then I think they rebooted Chilling Adventures to tie it into some new Archie thing or something.
I think they slightly rebooted, but not too much. But I'll just admit I don't like the comics that much.
Yeah, okay.
Archie comics aren't that well done.
Okay, fair enough. Well, yeah, so check out Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, now available on Netflix. All of season 1 is up there. Binge it at your leisure. Paul, thank you for joining me.
A pleasure. And I will say, I don't know if it's all of season 1.
Okay, well, it's like 10 episodes anyway.
Yeah, it's 10 episodes, and they're calling it part 1, which makes me think there might be a part 2 for the season.
Maybe.
Well, again, it could be season 1. Netflix does that sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I think when I scrolled through the list, each episode was like episode 1 was part 1, episode 2 was part 2, and so on. I think they were calling the parts instead of episodes.
I meant, when you go to the side where it says seasons.
Oh.
But Netflix is notorious for sometimes it'll put part 1 and part 2, but it's actually season 1 and season 2. And
Right.
sometimes they'll get it wrong altogether.
Right.
Like, fun fact for you, which
Okay.
James will appreciate. If you go onto Netflix and look up Power Rangers Ninja Steel,
Okay.
it actually has 2 seasons
Ah.
on Netflix. Instead of Super Ninja Steel being separate like the past, it's season 2 of Ninja Steel. I'm like, oh, yeah.
That is it. That's helpful to know.
Okay, that's cool. At least on ours, yours might have slightly different layouts because you have slightly different ways of doing it. But
Right.
I'm not entirely sure with that.
All right, well, we'll go check it later. In the meantime,
Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
yeah, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, so good times. And yeah, so we will see everybody in November for more fun reviews.
And there's his direct tweet.
Yep. Actually, that's not true. We'll see you to wrap up the month because on Tuesday we will see you for the for you wrestling fans, the Hardy Boys Christmas special.
No, Halloween special.
Halloween special. Why did I say Christmas?
I don't know.
That was weird.
Because you're a weird little guy that sends tweets saying, "Oh my god, a black guy must be the Quizmaster."
No, I don't.
And I don't even remember what month it is. It's fine.
No, the Hardy Boys Halloween special. We'll be taking a look at that on Tuesday. So do join us for that to help round out our Halloween month, and then we'll have more good stuff coming up in November. We will see you next time, folks. Peace.